It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 43, and we're recording this live across the continent. And it is Sunday, September 18th. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv and at Rob Woodbridge on Twitter. And with me, as always, just in a different location. If I got on the other end of this line.
Yeah, Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. You can find me at Asif R. Khan or at the LBMA.
And Asif, you are not in your typical location.
No, not at all. I'm in San Francisco for the food service marketing conference, and yeah, going to be talking location out here. So
yes, and you're in the lobby of a hotel on a borrowed 4G card.
You got it.
All right, so we're going to cruise through this. It's obviously been a big week. Is there anything to say about the conference that you're at right now? You and Schneider Mike are there with a bunch of other people educating.
You got it. That's it. That's
right.
I'll tell you more next week.
All right. We'll do the wrap-up for this week.
Yeah.
4 good stories this week as we focus on the location-based marketing world. We're going to talk about GoWalla. We're going to talk about receipts, which is, I love this idea. We're going to talk about Misys and GeoGuard and something called Digital Element with Semcasting, and a couple of investments, resource of the week, and our product. And I see you're already using the product of the week. I saw a post go out telling people where you're going to be, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, we're just going to start with our good friends at GoWalla. They relaunched themselves at TechCrunch this week.
Yeah, so Josh Williams, that is, back at it again. Great fanfare as usual with him, and relaunched GoWalla. Now, relaunched in the sense that talked about what the new GoWalla is all about. You still can't get it yet. It's not available yet in the App Store apparently. So
when he doesn't even know when it's going to be out, does he?
I hear another week, but that's rumor and speculation. So
okay,
don't quote me on that one. So, but yeah, GoWalla Reborn. We talked about the death of GoWalla a while ago, and here it is again. And basically they're focusing on what they were trying to focus on a while ago, which is the storytelling elements of location, going after the travel business, leveraging the partnerships they've already got with Disney and others. I think this is a good move. It's a niche play, but hopefully a solid play for them.
Yeah, I don't want to see GoWalla dead. I mean, we don't misinform the way we talk about it is wanting GoWalla to disappear. But they've just become more and more of a commodity play in my mind than anything else. And so even if they go into the travel space, this isn't going to stave it off. They've got a micro following. How many users do they have now?
Like 2 million.
Yeah.
Something.
And in what Facebook has done with their integration of location everywhere is going to be a much better play in the travel space or the discovery space than GoWalla ever could be. So regardless of what they do, I don't want them to go. I love it. It's a beautiful application, but this doesn't cut it for me. I'm completely disappointed in this announcement and the way that GoWalla's gone. And if I was an investor, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, the screenshots I've seen, I mean, like, it looks pretty. Somebody's got to do the travel space, but I don't think it's enough to win them the market. So I'm with you on that. But we'll see. I like Josh. I mean, I like these guys. I've always liked them as a company. So hopefully they can persevere and make something happen.
Well, yeah, we're rooting for them, but this isn't going to do it. There's a company in Montreal called M-Trips that does similar things, and everybody's in this space, and right. Foursquare's already there with a much bigger established user base, and Facebook. You got to think that this is where they're going to. Obviously, is going to integrate in the travel space. So right. I say, poor GoWalla, poor GoWalla. And not much more to say on that. Other than good luck, please survive, figure it out. So GoWalla is reborn as a travel and what are they calling it? A travel and diary or travel and
storytelling.
Log? What's that?
It's storytelling. It's digital storytelling.
Digital storytelling. Oh my
God. Bookmarking and storytelling.
Oh, rest in peace, GoWalla. Story number 2. This is a great idea, and I really like this idea as an independent guy who's out there working with a lot of companies, traveling a lot, just like yourself, Asif. Ready Receipts, launching their digital receipt platform. but this has a great twist. It's not about scanning your existing receipts in, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it's so what these guys are talking about is keeping an electronic copy of receipts, both from the consumer side and the merchant side, in the cloud. We've talked a lot about cloud computing and the drive towards that. And so I think this makes sense. I mean, you sign up with these guys, you say, hey, these are the participating retailers that I shop at. Anytime I shop there, keep a copy of the receipt up in the cloud there so I can go find it. So yeah, you don't have to scan anything, you don't have to do anything. It's not really a location based service or marketing thing per se. Although the reason I wanted to talk about it is that I think you and I've talked a lot about the coming mobile payments NFC piece of location, and I think having something like this plugged into it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It just makes it easy and simple on both sides: consumer tracking, merchant tracking, analytics. In terms of even being able to, they have a feature in here on the merchant API piece of being able to drill down and look at actual transaction level detail and use that for loyalty based marketing and other things. So
I like it. But I mean, as you travel quite a bit, the idea that I don't have to ever submit a receipt or carry a receipt, it keeps it digitally, is great, because ultimately there's two things that I love about it. One is that it can automatically compile all the receipts for me, and then I can just hit a button and send it off to get paid out to my client. The second thing is the client is peace of mind, right? Is that it's not about having an extra, and maybe people won't find this great, but as a guy who ran a company and people were submitting receipts, I would have liked this, which was you could geotag, you could stamp a location that says, you know what, this receipt was actually from that night in San Francisco, as opposed to a blank one that you just filled in. I mean, it's receipt fraud.
You never did that, did you, Rob?
What's that?
You never filled in blank receipts, did you?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, is that I would receive some, and I'd be like, this is awfully suspicious, right? How did you spend $188 in cab fare in one single day, right? But you don't, that's a tough conversation to have. So by geotagging that receipt to that time and that place.
There's huge value in that, which actually leads right to our next story. So
nice. And we planned this. We did. So Misys, this is a UK-based or a London-based company?
Yeah.
Launching GeoGuard?
They launched this product called GeoGuard. It's built on the Force.com, Salesforce.com platform. So this is, they have a set of open APIs that allows people to build against that. And so what this is actually targeting all the banks and financial institutions and enabling them to use geolocation as a method for fraud detection. And a lot of the credit card companies, a lot of the banks are trying to, cut costs in that area. I mean, it's an expensive proposition of doing that. Yep. And if you can, simplify that process by using location-based data, you can actually save a lot of money. So that's really what this is aimed at.
Do you know, so I got a question about this. Is it the credit card companies do a wonderful job right now of looking at anomalies in your credit card usage patterns, right? So if you're doing a collect call from another city that you've never done a collect call before, they get on the phone and call you and say, was that you? So they've got some fraud detection already built into pattern recognition in credit card use. So how does this work? I mean, I register with a credit card company, I register with a bank, I check in. I mean, ultimately, the credit card is with the person who maybe has stolen it or not. But I'm a little murky on how this would work.
So they've got four capabilities from what I've read that they've built into this thing. So one of the key ones is something they call card geo-lock. And so apparently what it does is it prevents a card from being used by any other cardholder who might be present or close to that card or maybe found the card or whatever, because transactions can't happen unless they happen within a checked-in, specified, user-defined area. So you as a user who owns that card says, look, these are the areas that I authorize my card to be checked into. And anything that happens outside of those areas is not
suspicious.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they have a geofencing capability as well, so you can set up similar kinds of things. You can say, when my card's used inside this geofence, great. When not, don't authorize. So there's a lot of those kinds of powers that they put on the consumer, which ultimately saves the banks and financial transaction companies a lot of money.
You know, I love that because say your kid goes to university, or your wife goes to the mall, or your husband goes to the mall, whoever spends, you can say, listen, geofence the mall or the university, and put a cap on your ability to spend at one point in time.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
So, I mean, that's interesting. I think that it's still one-sided to the credit card companies. There's got to be an easier way for the consumer to enable this without going through hoops, and I think that that's the limitations. But that's pretty neat, and it's in the UK only right now, or is this? Do we know?
It's UK only right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then I love that. A little bit of an international flavor from San Francisco to Ottawa to the UK.
You got it.
You know, I'd like to say that we're cruising here, and we really are here. So should we slow down, do a song or something like that? We're 11 minutes in.
No, I'm afraid of losing the connection again. So.
That's why we're not going in depth here. And there's no time for conversation.
Yeah.
Our last big story of the week was a Digital Element working with Semcasting. This is one of those things that I think is pretty amazing. So talk about Semcasting and what does Digital Element Partners do?
Okay, so both these guys are really in the business of crunching data and creating algorithms to look at data. And so Digital Element has a geolocation kind of IP intelligence platform. Semcasting has a system that looks at IP addresses and maps them to zip codes. And so those two companies have come together. They have a product called the IP Audience Zone Targeting Platform. Big long name. But
throws off your tongue.
Really what I saw here, and what the reason I wanted to bring this forward is, when you look at the way the data is being collected right now from check-in platforms like Foursquare, that data is really useful in the sense of merchants who are on the system can see who's there, they can push them offers, they can push them deals, all the stuff that we've talked about before. And to some extent, over a period of time, you can look at that usage data and you can associate it with the profile of the individual who's checked in, and then make recommendations like we've seen with all the recommendation engines. But what we don't have is where people check in doesn't necessarily correlate with where those people live. These are two very distinct pieces of data in many cases. Maybe I go to the bar, by my work, a couple times a week and hang out with the guys and have a drink after work, and I check in there and maybe, I drink Bud Light, every time I go there. And that's interesting data, that Foursquare might have access to, or some platform like that. But correlating that data to where I live, which might be an hour from where I work in terms of a commute, and connecting that back to maybe bars around my home now and pushing me those as recommendations because they carry Bud Light, that's an interesting connection. And that hasn't happened yet. No one's doing that yet. And I think that's kind of a bit of the future of where we need to get in terms of this location data. And these guys, Digital Element and Semcasting, are starting to kind of explore that connection between zip codes and geolocation data.
It's so next level, right? I mean, that's what you're talking about, is because we've all been on the web, and it basically it has geolocated your IP address, so it knows you're in the city that you're in. But this is really about targeting to the block, or basically honing in that capabilities down to your a little bit more of a pinpointed area.
Right.
I'm okay with a lot of things. Bud Light and bars, I'm not okay with. That's the only thing I'm not okay with.
Well, I just threw that out as an example. That's not really what I do, but
no, it's okay. A friend of mine was just at Boston at Fenway Park, and he said, I had lots of Bud Lights, and I said, wow, yeah, you're not from Canada, are you?
Right.
So this is something that's in play right now. Right now, this is what Digital Element is doing.
Yeah. This is going now. Yeah.
Okay, it'd be interesting to see how this actually comes together. But you, with your Wi-Fi and your IP-based background, this is certainly something that when it comes to really targeting advertising and targeting deals, I'm a little leery about this. I'm interested to see how this plays out. We've got to keep our eye on these guys.
Agreed.
So is that really are those the stories?
That's the 4 stories. That's it.
So GoWalla Reborn. Ready Receipts launches their digital basically digital storage receipt platform. Misys launches GeoGuard, which we like. I like that idea as well. And Digital Elements and Semcasting wants to pinpoint where they can sell you a Bud Light.
You got it.
Those are the 4 stories. Let's jump right into the deals here because I mean, we can talk. There's 2 deals that you've got here, but I want to talk about the second one first, which is StickyBits, which we've talked about.
Yep.
You know, basically, I mean, this isn't even a pivot, right? This is just a
no. This is a
dead.
mea culpa.
What's that?
This is a mea culpa.
Exactly. Like, okay, that's not going to work. We're going to go over here.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, StickyBits turned into turntable.fm, which was the rage of the web. And I don't know if it has ebbed or flowed, but it used to be a worldwide platform where you could go in and basically DJ for a group of people virtually.
Right.
And then they got into some copyright issues and trimmed it down to U.S. only. So they blocked out the rest of the world, and it's now just available in the U.S. And technology pundits love turntable.fm. Like I see O'Malley talking about it all the time, and Vaynerchuk and his VaynerMedia guys are all over it, and you know, I never really got involved. I think it was a passing phase, but these guys went from StickyBits. They turned themselves into turntable.fm. This week they launched a mobile app, and they also just raised $7 million.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that they were able to get $7 million, you know, switching from one company to the other, to me is totally interesting. Yeah. Like what happened to, you know, the first financing they had for StickyBits? Yeah. Who knows? But somehow these guys have managed to stick around, convince people to give them more money, and plug into Turntable. So, you know, Turntable is interesting. You know, it's really got nothing to do with geolocation per se.
It could. At some point, it should.
Yeah, it should. You know, at the moment, it seems to be kind of the darling of all the guys in the space, though. So, you know, if you're Facebook or you're Foursquare or you're GoWalla or you're whoever, everybody seems to have their own turntable.fm room.
Yep.
Where employees are going in there. And the interesting thing, I saw one person commented to say that, you know, it's becoming kind of a new way to measure, you know, how cool your company is by how many people you have in your turntable FM room. I'm not sure it's so good for employee productivity, but
really,
you know,
and if you're really measured by how many people you have in your turntable FM room, it's like, yeah, we've got bigger challenges in the economy if that's how companies are measured these days. It's like it's a new Super Bowl ad.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, so as far as monetization is concerned, obviously, you know, you can create playlists in here. It's connected to iTunes, so there's some revenue to be generated there when people buy the songs. I assume there's going to be ads in here. What I'd like to see in here is location-based content delivery over the network based on where people are listening from. Yeah. So, like we talked about with the screen reach stuff the other day. You know, internet radio and even traditional radio with the national broadcast thing we talked about last week. You know, I think there's a huge opportunity in here for them to look at creating, you know, a media type that they could sell to merchants and brands who want to buy ad space on this network and deliver it inside of the Turntable FM room based on where the people are listening from.
I think the challenge that they're going to have is not wanting to, like everybody else talks about it, especially today, not wanting to disrupt or disturb the experience that people are having within these rooms. And ads and location ads, well, probably practical. I mean, you hope they do something like this because they've got the audience. But I don't know where people find the time to go and sit there for a bunch of hours and listen or curate music like that. I like turntable.fm for new artists and a way for discovery, so that you can discover, especially when you get a global license for this, to be able to discover, you know, South African artists that you would never ever be exposed to. And I think that's a good challenge for it. And you can, somewhere along the line, there's got to be some money. But I'll tell you, StickyBits, I still think that there's an opportunity in brand, in product brand like that.
That's what I don't get. I don't get how they could just kind of drop it and say we're going here. But anyways,
big opportunity. So they closed $7 million. I'm not sold on turntable.fm. I think that goes against the grain of every other technology person on the planet. But I think it'll be one of those things again, like Groupon, that in a year from now you're going to not remember. So I'd like to have them on the show. Second deal was RedRobot. Great name.
Yeah, so RedRobot, this is really an incubator of sorts, in the sense that they're really aiming to be the next big location-based gaming platform company.
Yeah.
And so, they raised $8.5 million, mostly from Benchmark Capital. Shasta was in there as well, and a few other individuals. Actually, one thing, just a little side note on this. I had a chance. I was in Boston last week for the Geom conference, and a guy named Jacob Mullums from Shasta happened to be at dinner, and we were chatting, and he was talking about RedRobot and this, and you could see the passion as an investor in this. That they're very excited about this space, and they see a lot of potential in it. So I think there's a lot here, and so they launched their first game. It's called Life is a Crime, and it's it's had huge success already. So the only thing here, if you're interested in this, listeners, it's Android only at the moment. This game,
Wow.
iPhone apparently is coming soon, but not yet. But really good on these. I mean, so what they see here is not just building one game at a time, but building a platform that leverages location to push out a series of games. And they don't see themselves building all these games themselves either. They see, using this platform, making it available to others to build games on top of. So, look for third-party games coming from non-RedRobot folks as well.
I like that as a platform, and you know what? I sat down with a great little company. It's a Toronto-based company, in fact, called. Actually, their game is called Please Stay Calm, and it's massive damage.
Yep.
And these guys building the same kind of thing, a location layer, a location-based game layer on top of everything like that. I really like what these guys are doing with massive damage.
Yeah, very cool stuff.
Yeah. So along the same lines, you can find that it'll be published by the time on Tuesday of this week. If you're watching this, that's the 20th. So they get $8.5 million to build this out. I like the idea. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is true location games. We've talked about Scavenger as a location-based game, but it's
right.
Scavenger is very much like a it's a location-based game, but it's not an immersive first-person location-based game.
There's a whole series of games to come about that has to do with playing against other people in physical spaces. Whether it's kind of like playing a real-life version of Risk almost, so to speak, right? Or Mafia Wars or whatever you want to call it. You can have so many themes on it, but that's effectively what we're talking about. And good on these guys for creating a platform in the space.
Well, I totally agree with you. And as long as they can actually as long as it doesn't get stale, like a lot of these companies build something out and it ends up being too repetitive. Too much of the same thing over and over and over again, and that's like I just said, right? The other company that does this, similar to this, is the Tap Lab, and they have Tap City, which is their game, which is the same thing, right? You're basically battling in real life for ownership of land, and it's a pretty cool concept as well. They're also building this platform out, and they expect to expand. They've got the Tap City, then you can go medieval, you can go whatever, mafia, whatever. This is obviously a coming trend where it's happening right now.
Without question, yeah. I mean, lots of potential here. So be the fact that this is a platform and not just one game, I think it makes lots of sense, and all the reason why they should be raising money like that.
All right, so RedRobot raises 8.5. Turntable, which used to be StickyBits, raises $7 million. Let's talk about the product of the week, which I alluded to the fact that you already used.
So I love this. I love this product. So it's called Foreca.s, and if you're looking for it, it's available in the App Store. It's Foreca.st is how they spell this thing. And I had the privilege of meeting two of the founders in Boston last week at the Geom conference, Renee Pinnell and A.T. Foudy. And these guys are just, when you see Renee, you look at him and you listen to him speak, and you're like, this is the next Dennis Crowley or the next Josh Williams or whoever. Like, there's just so much personality that oozes out of this guy. He's super smart. He's like 6 years old, and you know, and has, you know, like his own look and everything like to go with it. And it's you know, just brilliant, because what we're talking about here in Foreca.s is not checking in to where you are, but checking into where you're going to be. And so this is all about intent and kind of looking at the future of where you're going. And why this is so important is, you know, if you look at the evolution of the platforms that we've talked about over the last, you know, 43 episodes, you know, we started with things like Foursquare. You check in, you say I'm here, and it's about, yeah, I'm here right now. And then we saw, like, at the turn of the year, you know, everybody had a bunch of data, and they started pushing out recommendations, and recommendation engines were the thing that everybody was doing. So it went from, we know you're here, to, because we know you're here and we know where you've been for the last year, here's something you might like to do. And now where we're at is in this wave of kind of new companies coming out, like Foreca.s, is we know where you're going next. And in some cases, that might be dictated by you as a consumer, like in the case of Foreca.s, where you actually kind of pre-check in to where you're going to be in an hour or 2 hours from now. In other cases, it might, some of the platforms that we're going to see will infer that data from other data that it has, and more of a predictive analytics model. But the important thing here is what you can actually do with this data. And so one of the things I like about this, and I'm just going to throw an example out there, but let's say you get on Foreca.s and you say, look, it's, you know, in 2 hours from now, I'm going to be going out for Thai food. You don't specify a place per se. You just say, I'm going to be going out for Thai food in this particular area, like in downtown, you know, Manhattan or wherever I'm going to be. And if people are businesses, merchants, restaurants, Thai restaurants are set up and they're socially listening to what's going on all these platforms, they're now empowered to say, hey, wait a second, that Rob Woodbridge guy, he's a pretty influential guy. He's using these platforms. He's on Twitter. He's got X number of followers. They can quickly build a profile of you and say, hey, I want his business, and I want it now. And maybe, to a certain extent, they may fight for your business, these Thai restaurants, in my example.
And they should.
Because, you know, you have a certain amount of clout. Maybe it'll be associated with your cloud score. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen here, but it's about intent. And that's why I like this product so much.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking to Schneider Mike about this, and you know, I think the selling point for me is that you see the nerdlies, all of us that are around the table when we get to a location. It's like, okay, just a second before we say a word, Foursquare, check in. So you can pre-check in, right? It says that, look, I'm going to be there in 2 hours, and when I'm there, check me in, so that I don't have to go through that process with my wife looking at me like, really?
Right.
But yeah, I definitely like.
I get it too. So.
Well, I definitely like the way that I like Foreca.s, and this is one of those things that, boy, if it actually does take off and people start using this, it's much better than checking in.
Right.
I love the fact that you can actually say, I'm going to be there in a couple hours, and you can fight for my business, or I've chosen where I'm going to go, and when I get there, say hi, Rob, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Treat me like a human. Like,
acknowledge me. Yeah.
Like, love me. That's what it's saying, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, you got a stalker behind you there. You're gonna have to go get you know, permission slips.
That's what it was.
Well, you're gonna have to get permission slips from all those people that just walked behind you to say that they can be on video, right?
Yeah.
Better track that down. So Foreca.s, I think that you're a big fan of it. I know Schneider Mike is a big fan of it. I think that this is another one of those unique approaches to the check-in, the anti-check-in platform and discovery, and I think that this is great. So Foreca.st. Foreca.s.
I love it.
Resource of the week. BIA, Kelsey, Daily Deal Market Forecast, saying it's going to be bigger than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so, you know, not a lot here, you know, but the only reason I wanted to bring this up this week is people always, you know, look at me, and one of the questions I get asked all the time is,
you make a living
is this
doing
Daily
this?
Deal thing for real? You know, is it sustainable? I generally say no, it's not. But, you know, I saw this data out there this week, and, you know, BIA, Kelsey's a pretty big reputable firm, and they're saying it's still growing, and it's growing faster than they thought it was going to grow. So, you know, I thought it was useful data. We should throw it up there and let people see it.
Yeah,
because it's a question that comes up all the time.
But so, I mean, when people ask you that question, why do you say that it's not? It's just that it's accelerating too quickly, or what?
Well, for me, it comes down to, I think I'm starting to see a lot of pushback, especially, you know, with big brands, big retailers are saying, look, we don't need this. We don't need to be giving our margin away. You know, there's other things like Level Up, for example, you know, that kind of change the way that works that I think are a lot better for those businesses. And so, you know, I think there's just too much margin erosion and too much loss of kind of the loyalty brand piece with the customer when you go the daily deal route. So I'm not personally a big fan, but, you know, obviously, you know, there's still enough there. The mass market's still in there. I think it's going to take some time, you know, like everything else, you know, Foreca.s is going to take a while before people are onto that. Just like, you know, not everybody's on Foursquare yet even. But, you know, the daily deal thing, I'm already seeing the downswing of that where, you know, probably, you know, the mass markets are still there. So,
you know, people forget that the daily deal industry has been around for, I think, 100 years. It's called coupons, right?
Yeah.
And you forget that. It's already, like, it shaved something like $4 trillion off of the GDP of North America, which is an insane number when you start to think about what the impact on revenue is like that. And sure, I would agree. Like, this is, you know what? Deals are growing because of consumer demand, right? None of these companies are making any money. So it's not sustainable.
Oh, no. It's not sustainable. I mean, we've created a culture of consumers who are constantly looking for the deal.
Yeah.
But we're going to get to a point where it's just not going to happen anymore. And the deals will still be there, but the deals are going to be there for consumers stepping up and doing certain things and being loyal to those businesses. And the loyal ones will get rewarded, and the ones who aren't, you know, won't. And you know, that's how I see the market. But
yeah,
you know, that's one guy.
Yeah,
so.
But I mean, we echo this. Is that I think that this is a merchant getting smarter, right? I think that's what happens here.
And smarter platforms, like I said, like Level Up and Social Select and some of these other things out there are definitely, you know, catching on and adapting and meeting those needs.
And this, Asif, this is where the credit card companies and the e-wallet owners, like Google Wallet and the credit card companies that are building this massive e-wallet component, really have a massive loyalty opportunity as well with all of the merchants and all of the retailers, simply because they can do that all behind the scenes. Is that it triggers on the 10th buy, you get a discount by surprise, right? And surprising somebody with a discount goes way more than allowing them to feel it's their right.
Right.
So. We'll include that obviously as a link up there, and
there's Schneider Mike.
There's Schneider Mike. It's perfect. You're gonna have to get a some kind of. Now we have to pay him royalties because he's made an appearance. No. So that's it. You know what? I managed to slow you down, Asif.
I say. For that, every listener should get a free copy of the book now.
That's right. That's right. If he's watching, I think we just made that commitment, didn't we?
Yeah. Right.
Well, we'll make a plug. You can get it. It's location-based marketing for dummies in the Dummies brand book by Mike Schneider. That's it.
And Aaron Strout. Let's not forget him.
Aaron, you know what? I'm going to get him on the show as well. On Thursday there will be. I'll publish the Schneider Mike interview on Untether.tv, and I'm going to get his co-author as well, because I definitely have to get Aaron on there to get his perspective of the development process of how to write a book with a guy like Schneider Mike.
There you go.
Right. That's it. I don't want to keep you anymore. That poor guy's probably looking at you, who gave you his 4G card. He's like, come on, end this thing. You know what video costs?
Absolutely.
And so we'll be here next week. We're going to do some juggling, because we're going to be swapping positions. I think you're going to be in Europe next week. Following weekend,
yes,
I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm going to be in the Bay Area in San Francisco. I'm going to GigaOM's Mobilize conference, and then speaking at M Recruiting Camp all of that week. So if any of you are around and you want to connect while I'm in San Francisco, I'm going to be there from the 25th to the 1st of October, which I can't wait to get down there and get some energy brought in. So we will coordinate for episode number 44. We will not miss an episode. We're going to do it sometime, even if it means that Asif has to stay awake all night.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's totally going to happen. And, so, on that note, with regards to the 4G, I do want to say thanks to Stephen Groves. He's the man who made this podcast happen. And little plug here, we plug location-based marketing for dummies, but Stephen Groves is one of the authors of a book as well called The ROI of Social Media. So go check that one out.
Sweet, I love it. So he should know Amber MacArthur, and we should connect those two. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate the fact that we could do this. We tried multiple locations with multiple Wi-Fi hotspots. Nothing worked out, so the 4G stick is a godsend, and we appreciate it. So that's it. Episode number 43. Done.
All right.
Asif, have a safe and amazing trip in San Francisco. Enjoy the conference. I can't wait to hear about it on your return. And we will bring you the summary of Asif's conversation when we actually have some good connectivity next week sometime for episode number 44. Thank you for watching, wherever you may be. We really appreciate it. If you have any feedback, reach out to Asif at theLBMA.com or myself at untethered@gmail.com and let us know how we're doing. But until next week, we'll see you later. See you, Asif.